Welcome to Pregnancy and Parenting, a show that explores issues around conception, pregnancy, and better ways to raise children. My name is Ruzivo, and this episode is all about corporal punishment. So there is a saying, and I will paraphrase. It says that the inflictor and the victim both suffer humiliation. That when you hit someone, they are offended, they are hurt, but that will not change them. It might just harden them. With us in the studio is a power couple, George and Lisa Munengwa. George, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. Lisa, should you say?
Shiribo.
I'm happy to have you guys on set because you guys have set such an example. I've seen your kids. How many kids do you have, by the way?
We have 3 kids.
3. 1, 2, 3. And how many do you want to have, George?
I want to have 5 kids.
Lisa, how many do you want to have?
We're still debating.
So, George, until you know what it is whatever the mother wants. That is what will then happen.
Yeah.
Still a negotiation.
Yeah. So, good luck in these negotiations. Tell me about how you discipline your kids. Our topic today is on corporal punishment. So, George, do you make sure that your kids are beaten up if they do something wrong? What do you do in terms of disciplining your children?
Okay, I don't believe in beating up my children because I never received that from my father growing up.
Okay.
So I remember once when I refused to do my homework, and my dad must have had a very bad day at work, and he walked in and my mother said, "George, aramba kuverenga reading." And I remember seeing stars, and that was the one time in my whole upbringing that I remember getting corporal punishment.
Wow.
But my father's been an amazing, I remember straight after he gave me that slap, an hour later he came to me and, we spoke, and he explained he had a bad day, and he said, "You need to listen to your mom." So that's one way that I've taken up my father's technique. I don't beat my children up. My children are 7 years old, so I believe in warnings and, getting them to see that dad is not happy, and then we take it from there.
But now that you're thinking about it, I'm getting to think about my childhood as well. My father beat me once and I was 5 years old, and that was it. Yeah. My mother never lay a hand on me. And I turned out great.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, that's what I would say. All right, and then moving on to you, Lisa. Lisa, in your house, George said you don't beat your children up, but so what happens? The discipline that you give them, who's doing the disciplining? Is it you or is it George?
I try and make it George most of the times, because coming from my background, I got a spank most of the times. But then George doesn't like that. And George is also introducing the way that he was raised. So that's how we're raising our kids. George does most of the disciplining.
So, George, are the kids scared of you? I think I need to ask that question. Are you like that father? Or is it like, oh, yay, dad's home?
I've got an amazing relationship with my kids. We spend a lot of time at work. Our school runs are amazing. We do videos every morning. We sing. We do a lot of things together. So with my kids, we're more friends because going back to school, my father taking me to school, a lot of people didn't believe that my dad was my dad. We used to give some kids some rides back home, and me and my dad would talk so much. So that interaction has helped me become the person I am today. So with my kids, we've got such an open relationship. I support them at their sporting activities. I'm there for them. And that way it's made us really one. And yeah.
That's really, really good to hear. So, Lisa, if your kids have to go through corporal punishment at school, how would you feel? I mean, you guys at home have decided that this is not an option. So if the teacher is constantly hitting your children, how would this make you feel?
I wouldn't be happy with that. If anything, they need to speak to us, the parents, first. So I wouldn't be happy with that.
Just makes me think, there's a stage when kids just need to be bit, guys. Like, I know that stage. It's called terrible twos. How did you go through it, George? You've got twins, and then you've got your third son. So with the twins, and even with Gabe, how did you guys go through those terrible twos?
With the twins, we actually never really went through issues. Because with the twins, they've always supported and had each other's backs.
Oh, that's
so
good.
When one is, doing whatever, and you say, stop that, both of them would somehow, adjust. But with Gabriel, he is the adventurous one. He is Superman all up in the house. He's writing on the wall. He's doing everything. He wants to, switch the oven on and do all these crazy things. And with him, just a stern word, and his mom has this look that when she gives him a look, he
Hata iri ziso, guys. I remember growing up. Waingoti ukangori kandirwa ziso iroro kana pauya vanhu.
You drop
You know
everything.
what? I gotta stop now. Lisa, so here you are. You have that experience of uyapano, cha cha cha. And now you're raising children in a new way, in a way you and your partner have agreed on. What are some of the challenges you faced? Are there times when, how do you reconcile? Is there a time you go and just scream by yourself? How do you do what you're doing now in cognizance of the fact of what you were doing before?
Okay, there are times when I lose it. There are times when I can actually shout. Then I realize, okay, I went off board. Let me call my child back. Tell them I love them. Tell them I only did it because of love. So, but growing up, I don't actually remember my parents telling
Saying
me.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, footy, for what?
Yeah, so I realized even after a few minutes, they're back.
But there's one thing, you've turned out great as well. So maybe this thing about corporal punishment, sometimes it's overrated, it being okay or not okay, because your parents spanked you, but you've turned out okay. See, that's my point. It molded you. So maybe for different children, different solutions. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think, George?
I think growing up for me, I remember, one thing also that brought morals for me was the schools I went to, because they instilled a lot of, things to do, things not to do. So schools play a very big, important role, because you find kids spend more time at school than they actually do with you, because they're 6, 7, 8 hours at school. So the type of schools groom the morals and the manners and, morning sir, good afternoon ma'am, all those things, they start from school. And for me, I remember at Hartman House, my father used to tell one of the teachers who was our relative that Magona George make sure that you take care of him, because that was a way to say, George, when you're at school, get your things in order. This is not home where you have your way. In the outside world, you have to be managed. So that's that for me.
I'm actually happy you spoke about school, because I have a surprise for you. But before I talk about that surprise, this is the thing. Whatever you decide on disciplining your children, you need to stand as a team if you're a couple, and make sure that you have the same sentiment and you are going with the same goals and values. Because when you differ, that's when you have a problem. If you decide to take on corporal punishment, make sure both of you are on that role. And if you decide not to, then make sure both of you are not beating up your children.